Hello, welcome to Happy Dragon English Story Time. Today's story is Puss in Boots. There was once a miller who was very poor. He had 3 sons. The elder sons were lazy, but the youngest was hard working. When the miller died, there was only his mill, his donkey, and his cat to leave to his sons. The eldest son took the mill, the second son took the donkey, and the youngest had only the cat, which he had saved from being drowned by his brothers. The elder brothers soon sold the mill and the donkey. As they were lazy and did not work, it was not long before they spent all the money. Meanwhile, the youngest son was at a loss. "What can I do? All I have is this cat," he thought. He was astonished when the cat spoke to him. "Don't worry, my good master. I'll make you happy in return for what you did for me. Just give me a sack and a pair of boots, and I will make you happy," continued the cat. "I have just enough money to buy you a sack and a pair of boots," said the youngest son. When the cat put on the boots, his master laughed and said, "Now you are truly Puss in Boots." The cat bowed and went off into the woods with the sack slung over his back. He made a trap with the sack and waited. Soon a foolish rabbit came along and hopped into the sack. The cat took the rabbit to a nearby palace. "Here is a fine rabbit from my master, the Marquis of Carabas, your Majesty," said Puss. "I have never heard of the Marquis of Carabas, but rabbits are my favorite food," said the king. The next day, Puss caught 2 quails and took them to the palace. "I have brought you 2 nice quails at my master's orders, your Majesty," said Puss. "I like quails very much. Tell the Marquis of Carabas that I thank him," said the king, delighted. Puss kept visiting the palace with gifts and saying they were from the Marquis of Carabas. One day Puss took his master to a river and said, "From now on, my master, your name will be the Marquis of Carabas. Please bathe in the water." His master, not knowing what was going on, but trusting his friend, did as he was told. Suddenly, Puss shouted at the top of his voice, "Help! Help! My master, the Marquis of Carabas! He's drowning! Save him! Please save him!" Just then the king's coach passed by. Puss had known that he would come by here with his daughter. "Oh dear, save the Marquis of Carabas right away. He has been so kind to me," exclaimed the king. While his escorts rescued the young man from the river, Puss whispered in the king's ear, "My master has had his clothes stolen." So the king gave the young man a fine suit. The king's daughter looked at him and fell in love at first sight. The king graciously invited the young man into his coach. "Will you come to the castle of the Marquis of Carabas, your Majesty?" invited Puss. The king accepted the invitation, and Puss ran ahead of them. He called the countrymen together and said, "Good people, the king is coming this way. When the king asks you who the meadow belongs to, you must tell him that it all belongs to the Marquis of Carabas. If you don't, the king will chop off your head." Then Puss met a shepherd and told him to say the same thing about his sheep. The king passed by a moment after and asked, "To whom do those sheep belong?" "To my lord Carabas, your majesty," replied the shepherd. "The Marquis must surely have a vast estate and fortune," said the king, who was very pleased. The Marquis of Carabas had no idea what was going on. Meanwhile, Puss was in a castle belonging to an ogre. In fact, all the land they had passed through belonged to the ogre. Puss made a respectful bow to the ogre. "I am honored to see the most powerful man in the world. I am here to inform you that there is a bad rumor about you, my lord," explained Puss. "What is the rumor about me?" asked the ogre. "They say the ogre is now too old to use magic," said Puss. This made the ogre furious. "I have heard that you could turn yourself into a lion. Can you still do it?" asked Puss. "You can judge for yourself," said the ogre, and the next moment a fierce lion was snarling in front of the cat. Puss was shaking with fright, but said, "I have heard that you could even turn into a small mouse, but I suppose that is impossible." "Impossible!" cried the ogre. "Turning into a mouse is the simplest of all." The next moment a tiny mouse was crawling before him. Quick as a wink, Puss pounced upon the mouse and gobbled him up, and that was the end of the ogre. Soon afterward the king's coach arrived at the castle. Puss ran out to the gate and said to the king, "Welcome to the castle of the Marquis of Carabas, your majesty. Please come in and make yourself at home." "So," said the king, very impressed, "this castle also belongs to you, my lord Marquis." "I have never seen such a magnificent court," said the princess, looking around with wide eyes. The king was quite charmed with the good fortune and good qualities of the Marquis. "My lord Marquis of Carabas, I wonder if you would like to marry my daughter," offered the king. "Marrying such a pretty princess, it sounds like a dream," thought the son of the miller. He replied immediately, "Yes, your majesty." In no time a grand wedding was held. Puss in Boots was very happy for his master. The Marquis of Carabas thanked him, and Puss in Boots lived happily ever after with the miller's son and the princess. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to this story and come back again soon. Bye bye.